Our lease was a year.
Okay, have we started?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and,
Not much.
recommence this
Oh, that's it.
meeting. And, we are now on, item A, extending the juvenile court lease. So I'm gonna make a quick statement here. After this discussion, I think it is prudent to take, a vote to determine whether this counts as a emergency situation. And the reason for that is, the rationale is that if it does, then we will only need a majority vote to extend the juvenile court lease. If it does not count as a, if this does not count as a, if this body does not believe that it counts as a emergency, then we will have to have either a second reading or a unanimous vote with a waiver of the second reading as part of the vote. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so I would entertain a motion to determine, and this is under item A, to determine whether this timeline, the instances that led to this timeline count as an emergency situation. I'd entertain that motion.
I'll move to this motion to discuss.
Motion to
Second.
discuss, and second, all in favor?
Aye. Question.
Go ahead.
When does the juvenile court lease terminate? Is it December 31st of this year?
January 31st.
January 31st.
January 31st of this year. Okay. So, I guess that being said, the question is if an emergency, I mean, the commission meets next month again, so I mean, how would that constitute an emergency for this month? That could be my question.
I would defer, you addressed me, I appreciate it, I would defer to you.
The reason that we're having to make that determination is to, whether we expedite this through so that it can be finalized. That's a commission decision to make. It's got, if you have a copy of the resolution that amended it, it defines emergency, and and that's what would be up to the commission to decide.
Where's the resolution?
It's right here.
Under 1612-09.
Oh, is it, it's not in the packet?
I don't have anything. You don't have to pass that out.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Oh.
All right,
Okay.
then I'll
Let me
read it to you.
got it.
1612-09, it's a resolution from the commission. An emergency is defined of the result of a specific event which is not the result of poor planning that could result in a disruption of services or create risk to property or individuals.
So I have one question on this, because it's important. The result of poor planning by whom?
It does not.
It doesn't say.
It doesn't.
So what's, I mean, do we make an inference that it's the result of poor, because there is poor planning, but I don't know that it was poor planning on the part of the county here, it was poor planning or execution on the part of a contracted entity.
That if I'm interpreting this resolution, it's left to be open for you all to make that determination.
Okay. Any other questions here? Discussion?
If this was pushed off a month, I'm just asking the question, and we did take it to January, as Commissioner Mansfield was talking about. So it goes through budget, middle of the month, goes to the commission the third Monday.
Fourth Monday. January 22nd.
Is that not enough time
You'd have 9 days.
to to get the money together to sign the lease?
Beth, I think there's a question for you, or maybe that's one for Ms. Norfleet.
It's not a question about getting the money together. The money's there.
If we vote on appropriating the money on that fourth Monday, we can have it ready for the lease.
Yes, because we do those transactions by ACH.
Okay, so then I'm thinking it's not an emergency today. I don't have a problem necessarily appropriating the money, provided that it doesn't get spent prematurely. And I guess since Mr. Long answers to us, we could put that stipulation on him.
And those funds cannot come out of capital projects fund. because
Right.
it's
General.
Right, it has to come out of the general fund balance.
Okay,
unassigned fund
how does that
balance.
change things?
It doesn't.
It doesn't, it's just for your information.
Oh, okay, okay.
Ms. Miller?
Do they need notice? Do they have something in the contract that says you have to renew this lease 15 days, 30 days, 45? I mean, is there anything in that? Do we know? Whoever.
Question for Kim. Look, in order to answer that question, I think we'd need to suspend the rules.
Motion to
add-
suspend. the rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Norfleet, we have a question directed toward you, if you wouldn't mind, please. Go ahead, Ms. Miller.
Is there something in the lease contract that says that they need a notice? So if we wait till January 22nd and they need 15 days, 30 days, 45 days to know that we're going to continue to be there, is there any type of language like that in that contract of that lease?
I am not, to my knowledge, I don't know. I'll have to pull it up and check. That was not something that we had talked about. We could have given them the notice that we would need the space beyond January 31st. Because at this point in time, there's not enough time for us to relocate the courts by the end of January. So we're at the stage where we're gonna need the space longer than January.
So,
Did you get, was that the answer you needed?
I don't know
No.
that.
Well, I mean, but
I don't have.
she answered it. but
That's
it's
what
not
you
the-
asked me. No, I didn't
It's an
get any
answer, it's not the
clarity,
one you
but
wanted.
yes.
so I want to go back what Ms. Norfleet just said about it's too late to even move between now and January 31st. So the next 6 weeks, it would not be possible to relocate anywhere. Is that what you're saying? I mean, as far as we're trying to define what constitutes an emergency.
We own all of the furniture that's there, so we would have to relocate the staff of juvenile and adult probation, and there's also a clerk's office there. Then we own all the furniture that's there, so there's not enough time to surplus all of that and get everything out of there before the end of January.
So what I'm hearing is that it sounds like it becomes an emergency because you have no other option. You basically, I mean, if that's true, that's all I'm hearing. I'm just defining, we're defining what's an emergency. If you can't do anything and you're basically kicked out of the door because you don't have a lease and you got a bunch of furniture and you're not operating the court by law, then that, I guess, constitutes an emergency at that point, which is beyond our control, which is because of the failures of the construction company, the architects, the vendors, whomever else. I mean, is that,
I mean,
correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you have,
I'm open to-
it's a good argument. I mean, it's just a request, question is, we don't say here, who's the poor planning?
Well, sure, but I'm just trying to define, we're defining an emergency.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And so, is that your question?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Don.
Before they moved this juvenile court to, I'll call it the bowling alley for lack of better buildings, was there ever a contingency plan should something happen to that building? I don't know, act of God, an emergency. I mean, was there ever a contingency that if we had to move it from here due to a fire, anything, and if not, why? I guess the question would be why,
You know, the interesting thing here is somewhere along the line, I was led to believe, and maybe it was my own imagination or hope, but that when we received the building in substantial completion September 18th, we were going to start moving in then. And we're still testing today the heating, the HVAC system with our third party, who's TLC Engineering. And I'm trying to figure out how we got so far down this road, because if we're still testing the HVAC system, then clearly we would not have been moving in. We got 2 to 3 weeks before the move-in date, or the opening date, so we never stood a chance anyway. Am I understanding it right, Kim?
I mean, when Randall Coy left, we had a team meeting. At that point in time, everything was tracking on schedule. It was after that time period that we found out about the other items for the life safety code issues that have since put us beyond the schedule that we had originally anticipated.
But
Then that time, David, that time frame was always right after the Christmas season, during that time period when the courts were at their slowest
We
time.
had planned to shut the
There was
courts
no
down
time,
for
yeah.
2 weeks, so.
Yeah, there was no time that we were gonna move, then maybe we could move some stuff over there if possible, which we may end up doing that, some boxes and filing cabinets and so forth, but it had always been tracking to do it at the end of the year when the courts were shut down.
And so the plan was to be fully moved in by the end of January, before the lease ran out.
The end of
But in-
January?
But the lease goes to the end of January.
Yeah, the first part of January, that gave us time to surplus everything that was in that building, so we didn't have to move all of that out and try to surplus it.
So it was never intended to start moving till the beginning of January and then be done in
End of
a...
December, beginning of January. Yeah, that's what's been said.
So is it fair to say that this incident is the thing that caused us to miss a reasonable hit time of the end of January to be completely closed out of the existing building? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which incident?
The
Elevator?
the air differential problem. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
because we simply can't get a CO.
Oh, no, I
until we
understand
get
that.
done.
I get it. I just want to tie the one proximate
Right.
cause to the timeline.
I have another question for the mayor or Kim. In our meeting a week ago Tuesday, it was determined at that meeting that they were going to start testing the day after, and they were gonna need 10 days. They have not started that yet, because Turner's in there with TRC testing the HVAC system. Would it not have made more sense for them to test this, since this was the hinge pin for getting open? Should we not have postponed the HVAC testing so that we could test this and get
I
going?
I'm just, and I'm not trying to.
No,
crush this, but
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand.
I'm just trying to keep us on that we have to be very, very tight in what we're talking about, because we are
Yeah, I want to
talking
be careful
about
going down that road.
extending the
Sure.
juvenile court lease and these two.
But this is my thinking, if there is still a chance that we didn't have to use that building, the bowling alley building, if we could have moved it out in January, if we were going to stand a chance, it would have been more appropriate, I think, since there is question whether the pressurization of the elevator shafts can be accomplished by this test of the closed-off hallway and the double doors. If they could have run that test first, wouldn't that have made more sense than testing out the HVAC system?
It would not have changed the timeline as we stand right now if they would have done one before the other during this 10-day period. We are where we are right now, and I don't think that would have changed where we are. So they can still go in and test it, but for us to say that we're gonna be able to move them out in January, if they tested that before the HVAC, it just wouldn't have happened.
Well, but they were talking about, if they tested it in the 10-day period they were talking about, which would have been done about right now if they'd have gotten started the next day, then they would have been able to possibly not postpone anything, because they would have put up a temporary but a solution that would work until the new stuff got ordered, built, prefabbed, and then put in a few months.
Yeah, and that's a what-if scenario that we probably can't answer for sure. But I can tell you that it would not have gotten juvenile out in January. It wouldn't have happened. We still have to extend the lease.
Are there
Okay.
any other questions on this before we move us? Any other questions from Ms. Norfleet or anybody else out here? All right, I'm gonna bring us back under our typical rules of order. We are still just on discussion of, is this an emergency or not? Is there any further, oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to try to make sense of this. To Commissioner Miller's point, we don't know if we have a certain number of days that we have to give the landlord to let him know yes or no, we're going to renew the lease. My concern is without knowing that, there is a chance maybe the landlord could say, well, you know, you didn't answer me, so I'm just going to rent it to somebody else. We don't know that. You know, they could get a phone call, you know, 2 days after we were supposed to make a decision, and, you know, some business may want to come in there and open up a bowling alley, whatever. So now then we might be in a bigger pickle at that point, because then what do you do with all the staff, all the rooms that I don't want to give away everything, but all the rooms, I'll leave it at that. We took a tour and have a good layout. There's just a lot of stuff now that you got to move that, so we may be facing a problem here, next month if that's a possibility. That could happen.
Mr. Chairman, if we appropriated the $125,000 tonight and passed it next week in the special called committee meeting, we don't necessarily have to spend it. We're just moving it into the possibility of spending it,
That's correct.
but
That's correct.
we don't have to spend it.
That's correct.
Okay.
You had to clarify that, because I didn't follow you on that at all.
So like,
Because this is, you're doing is it a 5-month lease, 6-month lease, or
so I
12-month
think,
lease?
I actually think you were talking about the lease. The lease is a known entity. Like, we know we have a.
But we don't know the parameters of it.
Well, but what we do, we know what the monthly cost is going to be. We don't know how many months it's going to necessarily be there. We have a timeline that has been given to us by our contracting team. And so we have an estimate for it, but we do know that we have, I think, $17,000 a month or something thereabouts, and we have an estimate for 5 months that we would need it for. And then we have a contract that outlines 5 months as the the kind of baseline time that we're gonna have it. So on that part, I think it's well known. I think your question is more relevant to item B, where there are more unknowns. But-
Well, we're trying to determine whether this is an emergency or not, and we don't know what the parameters of the lease are, when we have to pay a check, when we have to commit to. And so what I was asking that question for was, if we appropriate the $125,000 for the lease, now, do we have to
I don't know that
spend
we're
it?
asking for 100, I think we're asking for
Or
Okay,
$88,592.
whatever, yeah, 5 months. I guess it was 125 the first time we spoke about it.
Yeah, they came in under what we were thinking.
Yeah, if we appropriate the money, we do not have to spend it, but we could appropriate it tonight, just to have it in case, to consummate the
I
lease.
I think we expect the 88,592 will be spent. We expect ourselves to be in there for that period of time.
Okay.
So in that particular case, your question will be correct on item B, but I don't know about item A. And then you go and I'll get you.
Just to be clear, the amendment I'm looking at that is against the prior one, we had a term from February 23 to January 24 at 17.2 a month. The second lease amendment agreement, that term is 2/1/24, which picks up that following day and goes through 6/30/24 at 17.7 a
Yeah,
month.
that's
So
right.
just,
It's
nobody
5
to
months.
hit the points on it, so.
It's 5 months.
And that's where we calculated this 88,592.
And that will be a fixed amount of $88,592.88 that we do need to enter into. We do need to agree to, otherwise we need to move juvenile before the end of January.
Mr.
So we
Mansfield.
need to vote on it.
Mr. Mansfield and Ms. Miller.
So, point 2 of this second lease amendment agreement, so the tenant's fixed minimum rent shall be accorded. So is there a maximum? So it just says minimum, so why does it say minimum? Because they come in and it's like, we'd like a couple, three grand more a month. I mean,
I think we could amend this.
Well,
I might be able
Oh, go
to
ahead.
answer that. This is a commercial lease, and I've done a lot of commercial leases. It's not uncommon, especially when square footage is the issue, that when they enter into an agreement, there's the possibility of expansion or bringing your walls in, and they will generally do a adjustment, keeping the square foot rate. But it's my belief on ones I've seen in the past that this is in case you grow, then your rent could go up because they're assessing you
It
on a
would be
square
equivalent.
foot rate.
Okay, that's why it has this as the minimum. Okay, I wanted to clarify that. I got another question, but I can't remember.
Are you good, Mr. Mansfield? I can come back to you.
Yeah, good.
Ms. Miller?
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
Well, and, I'll just say real quick, the problem is too, we want to save taxpayer money. We don't want to spend taxpayer money unnecessarily, but here's the other problem. And I'm not trying to create the sky is falling mentality, but if you don't renew this lease or you just kind of kick it till the very last minute, what's to say the landlord can't come back and say, well, Joe Q Public came back and offered me $20,000 a month because he wants to open up an entertainment center or a bowling alley, whatever. So then we risk, having to pay even higher amount if that's the case. I mean, I'm just trying to.
So, any other discussion on this one? All right, I would entertain a motion to appropriate $88,592.88 from the general fund.
Did you get a vote on the
That was gonna be my second
emergency?
question.
Sorry, you're right. Well, we need to get so I'd entertain a motion on determine that this is go
I
ahead.
got another question, so thank you. Funding source for this juvenile court lease.
General fund.
So it's not coming from the bond.
No, it can't.
It cannot come from the
It
bond.
cannot come from.
General fund, unassigned fund balance.
And how much money is left on the bond that we can draw from for what the money we're being asked for? Do you know?
Approximately $73,000.
So wait a minute, so that's, right now, the bond for the courthouse, there's only 73, before this is not including this wish list of money, right?
No.
No, I thought the
There-
bond would cover all this, and then after it was done, we'd have 73,000 left.
No.
It won't.
No. There are a few, if you look at this, this is included in the packet.
So the bond's gone, basically.
Bond's gone.
There are a few items listed at the bottom part of the spreadsheet. If you do this, it's a very long spreadsheet.
Oh,
The other way. The items listed at the bottom are some of the items that are still outstanding that are known cost. Kim and I had reviewed this last week, earlier this week. I think there are a few of these that are included on the other sheet that Kim had provided, in the packet.
so all of this, okay, yeah, that total budgeted is 73,299. So of this approximately potential $997,446.91 ask, only $73,000 of this is coming from the bond.
There are a few of those items on that list that are at the bottom.
Oh,
of
can we-
This one.
Should we go through that?
Kim would probably be better.
That is included in the,
Yeah, I mean, we can do, I would need to suspend the rules again.
or do you want, well, first, I guess, okay, I'll back, before we do that. We're determining,
Because right now, we're kind of getting into we're
I
trying.
know, I'm getting into item B on the call,
Yeah,
right?
we're starting to
That's
get-
fine. So let's determine, I guess, you needed a motion to determine
No,
whether
we
this
needed a
is
motion to
constitutes an emergency
Yes, we need a
in order to
motion.
do the lease, so I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? Okay, all in favor of the motion to state that this is an emergency, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, now we move to, I'd entertain a motion to appropriate $88,592.88 from the general fund to extend the lease for the juvenile court for 5 months.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one?
What
Mr.
do
Brown?
we have in the general fund right now?
I don't have that number at the top of my head.
30 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
we're
Yeah,
fine.
that's not a problem.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion would have carried unanimously anyway, so that was a moot point. Item B, I'd entertain a motion either to discuss or to
Motion to
appropriate.
discuss.
Motion to
Second.
discuss and a second to appropriate $837,000, $838,000 for meeting occupancy codes. Who'd like to get in queue?
We need to take a vote on it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, who would like to get in queue? Mr. Mansfield, I know you want to get in queue.
So, yeah, I'll go first. So we know that the bond doesn't cover any of this, or we know that so let's figure out if we need to suspend the rules. I want to know from these just
Motion to
punch lists.
suspend the rules.
Second.
All right. All in favor, suspend the
Aye.
rules?
Aye.
Aye.
So yeah, the question is what from this balance sheet is covered here that leads us to $73,000 left over in the bond?
Ms. Norfleet?
On your sheet,
And I have a different, I'd like to get in queue because I have a different question.
so page 3 is the additional items.
Would you mind speaking up a little? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Right, page 3 is of your package.
Yes.
Is the additional items that, since we took over the garbage in October, those items have come to light. The elevator curtains, which is the life safety code, which is the $379,147. The SSO and E.
So that's on here in this list? I can't see it, so I'm just trying
The very
to.
first
it-
item.
That is not on the list.
It's not on the
Well,
list.
that's why I'm just asking what's on the list.
So the only things, if you look on page 4 of your packet,
Are you talking about this page right here, just to make it clear, Ms. Norfleet?
yes.
This
So
page.
the
There's
next
no
page,
It's,
page
Hold on.
4, currently working on, page
This-
4.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I
there's
see.
nothing on this balance sheet from page 3. Is that what I just want to
That's
clarify?
correct. All
There's
of
nothing
those
from here.
items have
Okay.
come up since we took over,
who's we?
myself and George Thompson and Mayor Isabel.
Okay.
All right, so page 4 on this.
Page 4, there's magnetometer coverings, that I intend to fund that from the contingency balance that we have. If you look on there, we have 85 on the,
Where am I?
if you look at the top under contingency,
Okay, that is
It's right here.
contingency.
a balance of 85,290. So
Contingency.
that magnetometer coverings, the $19,836 that
I don't see that.
is intended to come from contingency.
Okay, is that
It's a contingency.
of 85,000?
Yeah.
That's all the contingency is?
So,
Yes.
yeah, so, and then the next line item, appliances, refrigerator, washer and dryer, that's down below under the FF and E item. There's $45,872 still to be spent there.
Okay, FF and E.
The IT allowance, we have the allowance there.
Can't.
Hold on. So,
Oh, here it is.
let's back up. So the magnetometers are coming from the contingency. Appliances are not coming from contingency, they're coming from.
Appliances, we have an allowance, so if you look under the estimated expenditures to complete.
So where is that column? I'm looking for
There's
that.
an FF and E
It says
line,
Justice Center. at the
Okay,
top.
Justice Center.
There's your FF and E.
and there's a contingency, so it would come from that.
We could just get lines.
So that's coming from Justice Center.
And I had made a note on there on page 4 that it was intended to come from contingency.
So, go ahead, Ms. Mansfield.
Well, the first one's coming from contingency, the second one's coming from the Justice Center.
Yes, it's coming from the FF and E line.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, got it.
The IT allowance, that's also coming from the IT allowance, that line. So it's estimated expenditures.
The 192,000.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the same for the next one, the door access control.
Kim, I'm sorry, is the 192, is that gonna be totally spent by IT?
We may have a balance left.
May have a balance. Okay.
So,
So
Which
plus-
one, what was the third thing you said after the IT? You said something
The
about,
door access control, that's also coming.
oh, from the IT allowance to
allowance.
that.
Moving the package scanner from juvenile, JPA did not have a cost on that, so I'm still waiting on a cost for that item. But what will happen is that right now, there is a package scanner at the juvenile transition space that we had bought when we renovated the juvenile space in expectation that that package scanner would move to the new courthouse. So we will have to relocate that package scanner to the new courthouse.
Is that coming out of Justice Center?
It'll come out of either the contingency line, or if there's enough money in the FF&E, then
Okay.
we would move it from there. So these items on this page, I intended to fund from the available funds that we currently have.
So what's on this page is not net new,
It's
whereas
correct.
page 3 is net new.
Correct.
So I have a,
What did you say?
what's on page 4 is not net new. Nothing we would be asking for in this appropriation would go
The
toward
only
anything here.
thing that was new was the bookcases and then the furniture items that are mismatched.
Nevertheless, you're not asking, none of this is being asked for in this appropriation. What's being asked for is on page 3.
Right, that's what I was saying.
So I have, well, Mr. Hyde, you just had that, go ahead, Commissioners, and I'm going to cue here, go ahead.
I'm just, this is out of curiosity, and I need to know by what authority we're getting this information. You're in planning, and you're pretty well accepted as a grant writer. How on earth did you get this job?
Been doing it since the beginning.
Yeah, it got, back in 2019, there were, I don't know, items that purchase orders weren't appropriately gotten, so I was assigned to,
By whom?
by David Lawing and County Mayor Anthony Holt. And County Mayor Anthony Holt. So I was the one that was designated to start doing the annual or the monthly payments for the project.
And were you doing approval of change orders that needed to happen along the way?
No, those would run through legal and the county mayor as they to do today. They still have that approval process.
Did those make it to the county commission, either through budget?
It was part of our project budget.
So change orders that you signed, did those get,
I did not sign.
or that, who was the
county
signature?
mayor
The
is
county
the-
mayor, and did those run through the commission?
It was part of the project budget.
It only went through part of budget if there was a
Was a new
transfer.
appropriation or a transfer? Okay.
So every month we would have had a report.
But
of
wouldn't, if a
transfers.
change order happened, wouldn't you have to have a transfer of some kind?
And I didn't mean to get us off track here, but I had to
Okay.
hear this from you. But there needs to be a lot of changes done after this.
So I have a, are you?
But we had a owner's representative and a project manager who they were responsible for the day-to-day project management duties. That was not my role.
Who was?
We had an owner's representative and a project manager for this project, and they were responsible for the day-to-day activities. I was not
And
responsible.
from whom
for
did
this.
they draw their salary?
They had a contract with the county.
That was part of this
the owner-
expenditure.
The owner rep was Justice Planning Associates, voted them to be the owner's rep. And then the day-to-day operations, in addition, was Randall Coy.
And those two did go through the county commission.
So I have a question, kind of getting us back to current state on page 3, getting us down to brass tacks here. And if I'm not gonna ask this, I know Mr. Mansfield's gonna ask it. It's a fair question, so. So, of these, my understanding here is that we have a situation, we can argue about why it happened, or, we can discuss all that. But we have a building that does not meet occupancy code as of now, and is that, as such, is not, cannot be occupied and is not operational. As the owner of this asset and the operator of this asset, we have a duty to mitigate our risk. And by mitigate our risk, to as rapidly as possible move toward occupancy, given the unplanned situation that we currently have impacted. Is that true?
Correct.
So that's the state of where we're at. Which of these items on page 3 are minimally viable to mitigate our risk and move us to be, to allow for occupancy.
So the elevator curtains is a life safety code issue.
Okay, so elevator curtains, MVP.
We must also have the appropriate security cameras in the locations.
Okay,
So
MVP. Got it. Sorry, I'm using a business term, minimally viable
the
product.
radio coverage is a life safety code issue
Okay.
in the basement for fire communications.
Okay, got it. The lease we just
The lease
covered.
we've already
We
covered.
covered that, we don't have to cover that. Court reporter
We
tables,
definitely need the court reporter tables.
can we occupy without it? I'm not saying we don't wanna do this, I'm just trying to be
We really
very,
need the court reporter tables. This is not productive, adequate furniture for them to do their daily job responsibilities. And there's only 4 court reporter tables, but that is an item
so
that.
$2,500 a table. Thereabouts, okay. I mean, I'm just trying to be hardcore,
And
but
we're
that's,
still working
it's not
with-
technically MVP, but it's like
It's not,
highly
but for the functionality of the courtroom,
Okay.
it needs to be there.
Got it. Okay,
The jury chairs, we have to have jury chairs.
and would you consider that to be minimally viable?
It is absolutely viable. You have
And
to have it for the functionality of the
So
courtroom.
$859 times 42 shares.
What does it cost them?
So, okay,
The exterior bollards, we don't have to have them to open the building, but it is a safety risk issue. To protect the county and mitigate our risk, we need to have the exterior.
so we don't have to, what do they do?
Currently, there's 2 front entrance ramps, and the color of the stone it leads you to believe that there's not a drop off, but there is. A kid could come running out the door and
Okay.
just run off.
All right, so it would be,
It's a lighting issue.
It would be a risk,
Yes.
it would be a downside potential liability.
But,
Okay.
but a bollard is a ground-mounted light
All right,
that are beautiful and expensive, and the lighting could be accomplished in another way if we had to.
okay, yeah, I'm not arguing the
Yeah.
specifics here, I'm just trying to go down this list and ask, is this minimally viable, is it not? And we can fight about all that in a minute.
Mhm.
This juvenile disability film, that's a TCI rule that we have to follow.
Okay, so that is minimally viable, okay? The attorney tables,
The attorney tables,
No, not many.
so this is a picture, I can pass it around, of what it looks like today with the millwork.
that looks better than the table that I have in my office, I'm just saying. I mean, right? I mean, I'm just saying, right? A lot of people work on less.
Any idea how much these cost?
You know, is it $120,000 something to die on? I don't know, I'm just saying. This table looks a lot like this table. So, okay, so technically, it's not MVP?
I don't know if that's my call to make.
Nice, I mean, it's important to have, but like, okay?
Is it necessary for tonight? That's my question.
I
Okay.
mean, for the issue it would be is that with the audio visual equipment, there are things that have to be mounted on the tables, so we're gonna have to cut into the tables. If we can avoid and potentially,
Oh, we'd have to cut into the tables?
yeah, we're gonna have to cut into the tables.
So would it cost more to cut into the tables? Potentially, and do all that than just buy new
The
ones?
ones who
We're
subcontract.
gonna have to do it twice. If we can't buy new ones, then eventually
All
we're
right,
gonna have to.
I'll leave the tables alone. I'm almost done. So the ESA, so professional fees
Yeah, explain this one.
for a subcontractor of a subcontractor, because of that delay, we're paying ESA more.
Is this the same subcontractor that?
No, it's ESA, so SSOE is the group that caused the problem, correct? And they are a subcontractor to ESA, correct?
Yes.
So because of ESA's subcontractor's problem, we,
They potentially could not get the This relates back to the original delays for the construction timeframe for the fire, and then there was also a switchgear delay for about 6 months for the parts related to that switchgear. So that was not on ESA's fault. So I feel like this is a reasonable ask for the additional time that they spent on the project.
But wait a minute. I know we're on, so
Go ahead.
this is the professional fee from the firm that hired the subcontractor that failed the elevator curtains, and they're charging us more money for them to have to manage their subcontractor's mistake. That's what I'm hearing.
Is that true, or is this a separate issue?
Oh, sorry.
Can you say?
So,
that
yeah,
again?
I'll be glad to ask again, if we can pay attention. The ESA is the contractor,
They're the architect.
the architect,
The architect.
that hired the subcontractor, that the subcontractor was responsible for the failure of the elevator curtains. And they're wanting to charge us almost $100,000 more because of the failure of their subcontractor. I'm just trying to
They're two
understand.
separate issues, so you have to look at them as two separate total issues.
I don't understand. I mean, this is estimated costs were asked for new money that didn't exist prior to a couple days ago. So I guess my question is, what was the plan on opening the courthouse if it was supposed to open in January with $500,000-$600,000 of stuff that nobody ever seen before? I mean, because this is all new, had nothing to do with the elevator curtain failure, some of this stuff. So this is all, I mean, when was the commission gonna get surprised with this $500,000 or more request of new money, that the bond ran out of money, and this is a new money request?
It became an emergency.
Then is now an emergency. I just don't understand that narrative. I'm having a hard time. I mean, because this is new money asked that is just, it's put in with the elevator curtains, it's put in with, the juvenile lease extension. So when I'm looking at the minimal viable product, it's juvenile rental fee lease extension and the elevator curtains. Those are the two, and the moving fees. I mean, that's already, we haven't covered that, so I guess that's not in part of what our ask is. I assume that's coming from the budget, I mean, from the bond for the $110,000 for the moving fee. Do you know if that's from the bond? Okay, so that's why it's not on this, on these things. I just saw on the front cover sheet.
I mean, since we have taken over, these failures have come to light, and they're not the county's fault. They're a consultant that we had. So the county will have to potentially move forward, fund these items, and then go to court.
This was stuff that I hope was covered in the executive session, because I really don't wanna
Yeah.
go down that road very much.
Yeah, we covered a bit of
I
this.
thought
We-
that
we
would have
covered a bit of this.
So,
We covered a bit of this.
I mean, you know, here's the reality, these are things that came to light after the fact.
Yep.
You know, the elevator curtain, and I don't like it as much as y'all do. Elevator curtain, security needs, radio coverage, juvenile lease, they all have to be done. They're life safety issues.
Well, the
And
curtain.
wait a second. The rest of the items, they're coming up. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. It was a failure with the leadership that was running that project. Y'all talked about that in the executive session. But where we stand right now, and we can stand here till 8 o'clock, we still gotta do these items. So,
I generally agree with you, but Mr.
But
Swan.
in the meeting a week ago Tuesday, and again today in my conversation with Bill Fleming of SSOE, the curtain is not a given. It could be much less than that.
it absolutely could, and if it is much less, I promise you, I will not spend a penny over what it is.
Okay.
Mr. Hyde, you got a question?
Two-pronged question. One is, with some of the furniture needs, how involved were our judges, as they are the ones on the front lines? Were they involved? Did we ask their involvement in what they need for?
That's one thing that we asked when we met with JPA in October, and we were told that they did not talk to the judges, so that's a failure.
Did not talk to the judge?
That is a failure on JPA's part. As I mentioned, these failures were not the county's doing.
That's unimaginable. And secondly, how much contingency fund was built into this project? The amount of money in contingency?
500,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
500,000
Yes.
For 50 million?
$200 million.
50 million, right? 70 million.
Talking about the courthouse project?
Courthouse was 70
Yeah, the
million.
original bond was like $90 million.
Yeah, but the contingency.
Contingency
It's
fund.
contingency fund for it. So we
But
only had a
this was the
contingency of
jail
like
pods and all.
0.5%.
That's
So
crazy.
a contingency of 500,000.
But I want to go back to what you said and Kim said. You said
I would like to
on
say
your
one
question.
other
We'll go
thing.
ahead, Ms. and then we'll get Ms.
I would
Miller.
like to have you, sometime or another, list for us what the contingencies were to use up that money. The list of items that the contingency fund was spent on.
Miss, are you finished? Ms. Miller?
It's not really a question. It's just my mind is blown that the people that are in charge of the courtrooms and have done this for, how many years do y'all have altogether on the benches? I mean, 80-something years that they were never consulted. That is asinine.
That's what I want to come back to. So you're
And I
saying,
stand with that comment as well.
so you're saying, JP, whatever, they did not, these costs are borne because of their failure to consult with the,
And again,
Court?
this was covered
Covered,
in
covered.
executive session.
Yeah.
well, we just talked about it. I mean, just ask the
Yeah.
question, so.
But, so, Mr. Jones, I'm gonna go ahead and, go ahead.
I just had a question, just for clarification, Ms. Mosley. How did the first item, the $379,000, make it on this list? Because if you look at the bottom of page 1, it says ESA SSOE is committed to
Hey,
find
we
this
talked
solution.
about that during the
That's
executive
again.
session. We talked about that during the executive session, so I think we're gonna hold off on that. And Mr. Klein?
No, I'm not.
Okay, we're gonna move back to our current,
I was gonna ask you that.
so, okay, so, I would like to, I'm gonna break my own rules again, I'm gonna make, well, we need to, is there any other questions on this, any further discussion? I'm gonna make a motion in my own, committee. I would like to make a motion to appropriate $770,979.69, and that is everything we have here, but I'm having the attorney tables, from 120,000 to 60,000, so I cut that in half. Appropriate everything else, that's my motion.
Attorney tables is 60,000.
Attorney tables is 60,000. It won't be enough?
Those are figures from the front.
Those are finished, all right. We just keep it, fine, hey, we're gonna get awesome tables,
So it's, yeah.
so we can't, I'll get some, I'll paint them. Fine, I'll make the motion in $837,979.69. Can I get a second? Do this.
Repeat your motion?
The motion is to appropriate $837,979.69
Where you
from the capital fund. I'll state the motion
Kim's
first and then
number
I'll.
included the
Yeah,
juvenile lease.
it includes the juvenile lease, so
So you're
I'll
taking that
explain it,
number out
I'm
of
taking
it?
that out.
Okay, you're minusing out the Judah, so tell me that number one more
So
time.
it's $837,979.69 from the, capital fund to pay for all the items listed here in order to bring us to occupancy. That's my motion. And so where I came up through that number was I took, because we already voted on the first, second, third, fourth item down, the juvenile fee, so I stripped that out, added everything else up.
So, yeah, we voted on the 88,000.
We already voted on that.
Not 159,000.
Correct. So that's the motion. Can I get a second? Okay.
Hold on.
I just want to be clear here. If we don't do this, we are not mitigating our risk, and we will bleed more on the long term.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I do.
Okay.
Go ahead, David.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Klein.
How many tables are we talking about?
I don't know how many tables. Wait a minute, it had it in there, didn't it?
Four tables.
There's
Four tables.
four-
$30,000.
$30,000 a table. $30,000.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Or the-
I have to say
There's
this.
4 court reporters.
We're not in, we're not in that.
Go ahead, Miss Miller.
So if I vote for your $837,979.69, I'm saying that I'm okay with spending the taxpayers' money for $30,000 for 4 tables. I'm not comfortable with that. A piece, times 4. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think we need $30,000 tables. I know that the courthouse looks like that, but I think we can do better than $30,000 a table.
I'll amend this motion. I want to suspend the rules again.
Okay,
Motion to
Motion and a
suspend.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
yeah,
Ms. Norfleet?
So there's 4 court reporter tables for the 26, I believe, of the attorney table.
26 of the attorney tables. Okay, so it's 120,000 divided by 26 is what we're talking about here. 120 divided by
And
26.
I can tell you there's 7,
120 divided by 26.
$4,615.
Yep, and 38 cents.
What's wrong with what they're using now?
Ms. Norfleet.
Can I mean, we're out of session, can I ask
Yeah, we can ask.
the judges, like, please,
Go ahead, Joe. What's with the
There-
tables that we're currently using or the tables
Could there-
that are in there? The tables that were purchased by JPA?
They haven't been purchased.
Well,
Yeah, the tables are already in there.
Then why are they asking? for
then why are they
money?
asking for more money for more
showed
tables?
you the pictures, they do not match.
So
No work.
there are two issues here.
Okay.
One, functionality, they're functional,
Sure.
all right? The question is, is the county satisfied with the service they got from a vendor that chose to buy a bunch of furniture without talking to any judge?
So this goes back to where they didn't ask
And
y'all's
that's
opinion.
We did
the
have-
subject of your executive session,
yeah.
so I wouldn't get into that. But as far as functionality, yeah, they're usable. There's nothing wrong.
What you have now is usable?
They're usable, they will have to be cut. I'm trying
It'll
to
just be
think.
additional labor of our maintenance. for-
Yeah, there will be some additional items, and if the county's, I'm really hesitant because I don't want to step on your discussion earlier.
Yeah.
And I think if I said anything more, I would be getting right in the middle of
Yeah.
this.
Okay, that's okay. So here it says $7,600 estimated tables,
Right.
okay? And then labor is $53.43 an hour, freight and install. So labor, $53.43 and install, what's the difference there?
What do we do with the old table?
Like I said, Office Images is still reviewing the finishes and options that will match the millwork. These were some
Surplus.
initial numbers that they gave us, but they may not work. And
So
so
I-
that's why we've estimated $10,000.
So here's, any other questions here? So I'm gonna pull us back into, I'm gonna amend my motion, if the second is okay with it, again, to reduce this to 60,000.
I'm okay with it, with the understanding, like your point is very, well, I want people to understand, we're not we're not gonna lessen our risk.
That's correct. This will,
if
they are
we-
functional. We're giving 60,000 extra to, what
And-
we have is functional, we have 60,000 additional to, improve what we've got. That's my new motion, so I'm gonna amend that. We have a second. Any discussion on that?
What's the final number on that?
That final number is $777,979.69. That's what we're appropriating. Any further questions? All in favor? Oh, you got a question? Any others? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We don't have to wait the second reading on this. So we have, I'll go ahead and go around. So, one aye, Mr. Schmidt,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
I'm just not comfortable with this. I mean, if we have tables already, why do we need more tables? That's what I just don't understand.
You can make an amendment. Well, we're voting, I mean, we can vote it down and come back. If nobody wanted to make an amendment, Mr. Brown, is that a no?
It's a no.
Ms. Miller?
I'm gonna say yes, but it is against everything in my being to say no, but I'll say yes just for the fact that I don't want to delay anymore.
Yep. That's the position we're in. Mr. Mansfield?
So I can't make an amendment, huh?
Well, we're voting. I mean,
You skip me. You don't have to, but, I might wanna re-vote on this one.
but we are gonna get another chance to vote on it, and, if it passes.
I'm not, cause it's a special call meeting, I've
Oh,
already
yeah,
got my kid,
yeah,
I'm
you're not
gonna be in
going
Jacksonville,
back.
Florida, so mother-in-law's 80th, surprise birthday party on Wednesday the 20th, so I'll be in Jacksonville, so I won't be here. That's the only chance I get at this. I'm just gonna abstain right now.
Okay,
I can't.
Mr. Klein?
I'm gonna vote no, because I want to hear his amendment.
Okay, well, then this motion fails and another one could come up. If there's it wouldn't be an amendment, it would be a whole different motion.
Right.
I voted yes, so it failed, 3-2, well, we had one abstention, so we needed, yeah, and one absent. So we needed 4.
Members present and voting.
Yeah, we needed 4. So,
So, I just want to come back to these tables. I know you said Bob was uncomfortable. I would, I don't know if you're comfortable.
Do we need to
If you
make
have
a
any
motion
suggestions
for
or-
discussion?
yeah, we need to make a motion, well,
I'll move to discuss.
okay,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just curious what Commissioner Brown, any comments that he might have, or?
Well, Judge Thompson said that there were tables already bought, already there. Why do we need, and I understand that your preferences may not have been met, but why can't we use those tables?
Well, I think we can. I mean, I think it's functional, so if we want to carve it all out, the number would be, let me pull out another 60,000.
717.
717, $979.69. I'll let him go now. Yeah, so we do have somebody, well, go ahead, Mr.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just another question. I noticed, the glass tops there, 39,000. That's divided by 26 again, correct?
Which one?
Down there on the tables, the glass tops are $39,162. Are there glass tops on the
Oh, I see.
present
Yes,
tables
Yes.
to preserve them?
Yes, because it's a veneer.
Okay, so the present tables that are in there have glass
No,
tops?
they're a laminate and they don't match, so. the
They're
veneers-
laminate, like-
The veneers, they.
Like this right here, this is a laminate on top of particle board.
In order to get the color to match the millwork, there were, in the same family of sienna, there was a laminate and a veneer. The veneer finish matches close to the millwork, so to protect the veneer, you have to have the glass.
Okay.
top.
Yeah, I would like to protect those tables if they have no tabletops whatsoever, or glass tops.
Correct, so we'd have to purchase the glass tops separate.
I would like to protect them, yes, with the 39,000.
So it's a wood veneer.
So,
If we do the replacement tables, the current tables are a laminate.
Yeah, but you said the new tables are a veneer that would need to be protected, and that's because they're a wood veneer?
Yes.
They are a wood veneer, okay.
Are the glass tops here the same size as the tables that are presently in there?
I think they were gonna have to have it cut.
So those glass,
There's 3 different sizes, and they'll have to have the glass tops cut. There's 36 by 72, 42 by 84, and 42 by 96. And just,
But I think what you're saying is the current tables don't need glass.
the current tables do not need glass because they're laminate.
Because they're a
You know,
laminate.
well, Mr.
this right here, you know, if this was not adults, this would be torn. This would be torn
Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
That's why I say it definitely needs glass.
Yeah, if it's gonna be wood veneer to be protected, yeah.
But those are the costs there, the 62, the 39, that is from the office images from our vendor, and it is, cooperative purchase. That is the cost. There's no coming down from that.
Because it's co-op.
Yeah, so,
You said that the present tables have 3 different sizes?
yes, sir. There's a
And,
36 by 72, 42 by 72, and 42 by 96.
okay,
The courtrooms aren't all the same setup.
okay. So right now, no glass has been cut?
Correct.
Okay, that's,
But the tables have been bought.
Well, we have tables.
They're,
we
They
have
have
tables
existing
with no
tables.
table
Oh,
tops.
Not the
okay.
new
I
tables.
have
Miss
two
Miss Miller?
questions. What are we doing with the tables that are existing?
That'll be something that we'll have to surplus. We've been told you don't get much money for,
No,
You
But
good?
those tables are brand new, correct?
but on the market, we've been told that you don't get much.
Okay, so we're taking tables that are there, that are brand new, we're just throwing them out and getting maybe a few bucks for them to bring in more tables that have to have glass cut. Look, I thought I was here for an emergency. An emergency is what? I need to know what is an emergency so we can open the courthouse, and then we can talk about fancy tables later. This is ludicrous. So
So-
somebody tell me
so
how much money we need to
700
open the courthouse.
$717,979, $717,979.69 will open the courthouse with no new tables.
well,
But they have tables that are
No
new, that are
new-
there that they
well,
don't
no,
like.
not these tables.
Extra new tables.
So,
I get it. I mean, I get it. I know we want nice
So-
things, but that's not an
So,
emergency if we have
I can't-
tables.
yeah.
We're still in a session, Judge Thompson.
Mr. Judge Thompson, go ahead.
Yeah, just let me address a couple things. This isn't about our preference or what we like.
Okay.
Okay? The county has bought these tables. We're fine with using the tables we have. You're gonna have to spend some money cutting into them to get the AV equipment usable. You can kick this can down the road.
Sure.
It's not about our preferences or what we like. But I do want you folks to get what you paid for.
Sure.
And that's an issue I think you probably do want to revisit later on down the line.
Correct.
So if I could, I've talked with the judges that are here, I think everybody's very comfortable with,
Executive question.
understand, we might have to cut this table, and depending on what the county commission decides later to do, cut
Yeah.
a second set of tables.
That's right. That makes a lot of sense.
As long as y'all are fine with that,
That makes a lot of sense.
let's go with it.
So, Ms. Klein,
let's talk about the jury chairs.
Yeah.
Are they new as well?
Yeah, jury chairs are a little bit different.
Okay.
It was missed. I think you can probably share the blame between different folks here.
but I think that's a thing that we could certainly talk about at a different.
You're saying they're non-existent right now?
Yeah, what I'm saying
They're
is.
not
the
delivered.
There are
The county
none.
never paid money for wrong jury chairs. There was just not any money spent on any jury chairs. So,
You have to have those.
But we have some at the jail, right?
pardon me?
Do we have jury chairs over?
They're crap.
They're crap, okay.
Yeah, what Mr. Jones is pointing to is Turner has agreed to allocate some of their money to offset the price of the jury chairs.
The missed
Yeah.
chairs.
We got at least 10,000.
So,
Yeah, that's on here.
so
The allowance.
I think that what,
Allowance.
is it a fair statement to say, what I'm doing here is I'm stripping out the 120,000 entirely. We can deal with that at a later time. So $837,979.69 minus 120,000 is $717,979. Excuse me, $717,979.69, and that amount would make us occupiable.
I have one more question.
Miss Miller.
It says Turner allowance $10,000. So is that $45,939.04
Or $35,000.
before or after
The allowance.
What's
the
the real number?
$10,000 allowance?
You know the answer to that.
Yeah, I just put the total cost on there so you would know it, because it's actually an additional, but the 10,000 would come from the 45.
So you-
So it's technically 35,000.
Okay, let's go.
So we can take another 10,000 off.
So it would be 707,000.
But, yeah, I don't have that cost finalized, so it might be a little higher, it might be a little lower. So I don't have an exact change order yet.
So if you take another 10, so we're at $707,979.69. Okay,
So move.
all right, we have a motion. I'll second it. All in favor, any further discussion?
This is for 17?
Seven.
We took off the 10,000.
Mr. Klein?
Are court reporter tables $2,500 a piece, really?
Yeah.
Probably.
They're that wide.
Good question. What do we, so the current court reporter tables exist.
Yeah, we got the picture of them earlier. I mean, they are pretty small.
They're not adequate for what they need to do their job.
I mean, that's like $100 table versus a $2,500 table, so I'm just trying to figure out what's adequate.
Is it,
I mean, I don't know, I mean, just, maybe, we'll say there's a $300 table, those little tables. They look more like table trays. So do we know the difference between a $300 table tray and a $2,500 table tray? Like, what are we talking about greater, tabletop dimensions, larger, bigger space, like, is it the same size? Do we know, I mean, I'm just,
I think the first thing that they quoted us, which they're still working on it, the final design, they were around 1,900 a piece for just the table. And then we've got to pay to install them and the freight to get them here. So that's why I've estimated the $10,000.
so, but we don't know the dimensions of them? Or, I'm just curious, like,
We're still working on the final outcome. The original one she quoted was 60 by 36, but we felt
Okay.
that one was not gonna work, so they're still going back to.
so what you showed a picture of, like, is like maybe 2 or 3 feet,
Yeah,
not
that
5
one
feet
is
or 6
not
feet.
adequate at all.
Okay, that's what I'm just trying to, you're doubling the dimensions at a minimum. Okay.
is there an amendment, or we,
No,
Okay.
we've got a week.
Mr., or Miss Miller?
I just one more question. I know we talked about the exterior bollards, and they said that was a safety liability issue. And then Commissioner Klein said that was really just a lighting issue. Is there any way to?
It's not a lighting, it'll be a bollard with a chain. So people don't step off the side of the ramp.
So it's a restriction bollard, not a lighting bollard. Okay.
Any other
I just
questions?
wanted to understand that. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so the motion, Mr. Mansfield, state your motion.
707,979.69.
From capital fund,
That's where it's coming from?
That's
the
where it's
capital
coming
fund? So how much is left in the capital fund, I guess?
Approximately 4 million.
It's what we have right now?
Yes.
All right, that's my motion.
okay. Second, good with it? Second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. One more motion needed.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Okay.
Do we have a second?
Yes. Send it to me, I'll give you the first one.